that I was in with James Walsh.
Named after a hospital there. Archbishop.
Get everyone the same.
We're going to do one quick announcement on interpretation.
Muy buenas noches. Otro recordatorio de que nosotros tenemos en español para la lección de esta noche. Si desean,
Do you want to start over?
muy buenas noches. Solo un aviso que tenemos interpretación en español disponible para el evento de esta noche. Los audífonos para escuchar la interpretación están aquí en la mesa. Tienes que estar en el canal 3, todos antes de estar en el canal 3. Y pueden subir abajo cuando se guste usar la memoria. Gracias.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Follow my lead. I want to bring a little life to this space. My name is Jim Walsh, everyone. I'm a political science professor at CU Denver, and I'm a part of this amazing committee. You're going to hear from each of us here quickly before we start. I just have a couple of comments to make before we get started. We're living in an era of erasure. Voting Rights Act. The T being removed from the LGBTQ. Teachers being fired for teaching about race and gender. Museums being punished for having displays about the history of social movements in our nation's history. Pay equity, women's reproductive rights, and immigrant communities being terrorized. You're in a union hall. All of us, we're in this union hall. In this era, a union hall is some ways the closest we get to democracy. So you're all part of history tonight. 50 years from now, when most of us are gone, this event will live on. This committee was constructed with great care. And William and I were joking earlier about how lucky we got. We have a very warm, collegial group of people to work with. It's a great honor to be a part of this committee. So I want to thank students who have volunteered. I want to thank the musicians. Can we thank the musicians? And I want to tell a really short story. Several years ago, Mother Jones was inducted into the National Iron Hall of Fame. And it was one of my greatest honors to speak on her behalf at that event. But she was almost kicked off the program. It was great. The board was divided. There was controversy. There was very controversial. I didn't understand that because Mother Jones gave her life, on behalf of minors. Because I'm looking up and down the list of the Hall of Fame, that Hall of Fame. It was scientists and engineers and mine owners, and it was a list of wealthy and privileged men. Maybe a handful of people who had ever seen the inside of a mine were on that Hall of Fame. And that night, the idea came to me, we need a Hall of Fame that honors the working class. Here we are. This is not the labor community patting itself on the back. This is a community insisting that its history not be erased or ignored. We're here so that people from working class communities see themselves reflected in history, know that their struggles are not new, and understand that they stand on the shoulders of giants. This Hall of Fame is about movement building and in public education. It's about the strength of community. Please continue to share names of people you believe belong. One of the hardest things we've had to do is choose. And I know we missed a lot of people who are very deserving, but we have next year and the year after that. So please give us names, or organizations and persons. We do need a physical space to keep the awards. That physical space will morph into a labor history museum. If any of you have ideas, connections, please pass them up to us. I'm going to stop there, everyone, and let my colleagues say a quick word and we'll get started. Thanks.
Hi, y'all. My name is Robert Lindgren. I'm with the Colorado AFL-CIO, the American Federation of Organizations. And I want to thank you all for being here today. I appreciate seeing all this wonderful, newly remodeled room. I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping too. I forgot to mention there are accessible private bathrooms through that door to the right. There's bathrooms over here. I hope we were able to find those if you needed those. I also just wanted to take a minute to thank all of our sponsors, and they were really great. And I want to start with IBW68 for donating this entire space for me. I think it's like a graduation. We wait till the end because there's a lot. So, SCIU Local 105, History Colorado, the United Mine Workers of America, the Letter Carriers, we got something called the Labor Council, we got the Colorado Springs Labor Area Labor Council, who's also live streaming this event tonight. Centro de los Trabajadores, who made the wonderful empanadas that you ate tonight. Ourselves, the AFL-CIO, Kaiser Permanente, the Colorado Alliance for Retired Americans. It's great to see you all here. Colorado Wins, our volunteers at the Colorado Labor Education Education Collaborative. Siegel Long, Public Affairs, the only lobbyist that I like at the building, so I got that going for me. Besides the labor lobbyist, sorry, Sandra. Sandra's cool too. The Bank of Labor, Denver Area Labor Federation, and just again want to thank all of you for your personal donations to tonight, and thanks for being here and sharing this night with us. Take care.
I'm Fawn Montoya. I'm a fifth-generation Coloradoan. Unfortunately, right now I live in the state of Virginia, and I'm a professor at James Madison University. 7 years ago, I left Colorado, but my work has been on Ludlow for over 20 years. When I teach about the Ludlow Massacre, whether it's in southern Colorado or whether it's in the state of Virginia, I'm always amazed at how many people do not know about this history. I came to study Ludlow in a roundabout way. My grandfather was a coal miner and a steel mill worker, and my great-grandfather was also a coal miner, and he was one of the organizers for the union in Trinidad during the time of the Ludlow Massacre. My family also happened to live in Honey, Colorado when I was a third grader, and a teacher by the name of Mrs. Anderson took us there to the Ludlow Massacre as one of my field trips. And so for the past 20 years, this has been the core of my work. As a historian, I will continue to tell the story over and over again, and when I teach my students, I say this is the most important story in all of U.S. history. I am lucky tonight to be joined by my amazing friend, Dawn Prince, who I'm always so proud that I've had the opportunity to work with her on many different projects and at many different moments of our lives. And she has been an amazing and wonderful example to me of not just how to be an activist, someone who embraces all types of people and all types of histories. And we are very, very lucky to have her as the head of History Colorado. She makes a difference in this state every single day, and her work is authentic and genuine. And I'm so proud that she's able to make it tonight. This is Dawn. If you don't know Dawn, she's amazing. And she has made it her mission to make sure that these untold stories get told, and they get told again and again for all Coloradans, and she's done this for a very, very long time. I also want to thank tonight Cindy and Linda Duger, who you will hear a little bit from later. I met them 3 or 4 years ago. Cindy and Linda, I think I met last year. And we'll talk a little bit about why they're here tonight. And then I also want to thank Rose Garcia and Loretta Pedregon, who are just amazing, wonderful women who I've had a wonderful opportunity to be able to interact with. And I also want to thank Mary Elaine Petrucci and Mary Rose as well, who have also been, and they'll come up later and kind of introduce themselves. But I think for me, when we talk about the Ludlow Massacre, one of the things that Dawn and also Bob Otero, my workers and I, have worked on for many, many years, Bob more than the rest of us, and then also Yolanda Romero, who is also here, and we'll hear from her later, is that the story of the Ludlow Massacre is a story of women and children. It's the story of Greeks, Italians, Slavs. It's a story of Hispanos or Latinos, and it's a story that needs to be told again and again. It has been the honor of my life to be able to do this work. There is nothing more important to me professionally and sometimes personally than to tell the story. And so I am very happy that we have that of descendants here today to share some of those words. And the fact that there are descendants here is sort of it's healing for me. It is justice. It is justice that Mary Elaine Petrucci and Rose Garcia and Loretta Pedregon are here today because their mothers were the only 2 survivors of the death penalty. And just that they are here today, that they have children and grandchildren that are here today is very, very meaningful to me.
Good evening. My name is Bob Otero. I'm a member of the United Mine Workers. I worked 6.5 years underground for Colorado Fuel and Iron down in Trinidad, Colorado. Then I had the pleasure of being hired by the United Mine Workers as an underground inspector. And then just here recently in February of last year, I ended my 43-year career working for the United Mine Workers. And it's been an honor to work with these fine people and putting this together. And again, it's the first one, but I do believe it is a good one because of the hard work and everything that people put in. And I do want to thank you all for coming, because an issue like this is, we need you all to be here to support. Thank you.
I don't even look like I know how to use machinery. As I was saying, I'm going to use this. Oh, I'm supposed to identify myself. I'm William Ware. I'm a professor of history at the University of Colorado at Boulder. Don't hold that against me. Instead, I would like to use this opportunity to actually remember my mother and father. My father was a working man, and he was a merchant mariner, and he belonged to the Maritime Union back in New York City, where I was raised. And he instilled me with fundamental values, which I've always held dear. As a working man, he told me that I should, well, of course, work hard, and also to do the right thing. And sometimes doing the right thing means raising hell, because sometimes the situation requires that. And in fact, it's my belief that doing that is fundamentally American. Fundamentally American. Because as I observe what's happening around the nation today, I see a lot of things that, quite frankly, are un-American. And they're being done at the highest levels of our government and our society. And quite frankly, it's going to require the rest of us to bring this to their attention in one fashion or another, that they are in fact being un-American. They may refer to us as un-American, but I was about to be a New Yorker again. Which means, in case you don't know, those of us from New York, we tend to speak really fast. And we don't speak in complete sentences. And every other word is vulgarity. It's taken me years to shed that identity. I go back to New York, 2 days. It's like I never left. You know, business about you can take the boy out of the city, but you can't take the city out of the boy. I'm afraid that's true here. In any case, as I was saying, those of us here need to reaffirm what it means to be an American. And being an American means adhering to the ideals that this country aspires to realize. We're a work in progress. We may always be a work in progress, but it is certainly worth our striving to do. Yeah? We've been doing this for a while now, and I see a lot of young people here, and I'm hoping that they will continue to carry on. It's important that you strive to realize the values that we stand for. We're talking about things like racial equality, political empowerment, social justice. Those are ideals that, quite frankly, makes us an American. I think I'm being a professor again. I'm being on the loquacious side. So I think I'm going to stop and turn it over.
Good evening, I'm Terry Gentry. I am an employee of the History Colorado as Engagement Manager for Black Communities. And I'm a volunteer docent on the board of directors at the Black American West Museum Heritage Center. And I am honored to be the descendant of my ancestors that I love to continue to celebrate their history and the work that they've done in the community. So I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here so that we can celebrate so many different aspects of our history and storytelling. And especially an honor to work with History Colorado because of our great leadership. And she is making absolutely sure that we get to record and register and document the history of each and every individual in this state. So I thank you, Donna. And she's sitting next to Marcy Morgan from the State Historic Fund. She's making sure that we recognize locations throughout the state that need to be recognized for underserved communities for our 250, 150, and just between the two of them, everybody here, your homework assignment is now that we need to get your stories. That's your homework assignment. Oh, don't laugh. Thank you all.
My name is Nikki Gonzalez, and I'm a history professor at Regis University. And I also have the pleasure of serving on the State Historians Council, so I also work with Dawn, and I'm delighted to be part of this group. I am the descendant, very proud descendant of meat packers, coal miners, cafeteria workers, firefighters. What else? My whole family is sitting over there, but everyone had a working class story. So throughout my professional career, one of the great pleasures has been like, oh my God, that's my family's history. But what's my family's history? So being able to tell those untold stories has been a great pleasure. And I just want to recognize David and Eddie Sanchez in the back, along with Shelly, Rich Rumble, Shelly, I probably butchered your last name, and Rona Sanchez as well. They are part of the Jenny Sanchez family who will be honored tonight as one of the Center Colorado Justice workers. So I just met them tonight in person, and I'm thrilled to be part of this group. So thank you all for supporting this. And I will say, I am delighted to see young people. So including my two sons over here. I'm very proud to share that my son over here, one of my sons, both of them are involved in community organizing, but one is currently organizing at a group of shelters in town, group of shelter workers. So,
Friends, we're going to start with a song we want you to sing. Clear your throats, everyone. You ready? Elena Claver's going to lead us in Doug Rippey, a song, you all know this song, but you might not know some of the lyrics that have been erased. So please welcome Elena and Doug.
This is meant to be sung all together. I know you know this song. It's by Woody Guthrie, and tomorrow is Pete Seeger's birthday, so extra points for harmony, but please do sing. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. Chorus. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled and followed my footsteps side, it didn't say nothing. That side was made for you and me. This is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This is the verse we never learned in school, okay? In the center of the city, in the shadow of the steeple, by the welfare office, I saw my people. As I stood there hungry, I stood there asking if this land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking that freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back. This land was made for you and me. Last time, this land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Thank you so much.
Hello? Okay. As for the land acknowledgement, as leaders within the labor movement, we pledge to uphold the fair and equitable treatment of the diverse population of laborers in the state of Colorado. We also understand that every community owes its existence and vitality to the original inhabitants of this land. Recognition of our true history is critical to building mutual respect, trust, and deeper connections across all barriers of heritage and difference, in order to unite and build a sustainable future in which dignity is afforded to all. We therefore choose to acknowledge the original stewards of this land, the Arapaho, Cheyenne, Southern Ute Mountain Ute, and many other indigenous peoples who lived in the area of Colorado before Colorado was a state and after. As part of the urban relocation program that moved Native people into Denver and surrounding areas. We furthermore acknowledge all people who came willingly or who were brought forcibly to this country, whose inalienable rights were stripped and whose lives, dreams, and legacies were annihilated in order to build the infrastructure and fortunes of these United States. As we come together in this transformative space to restore dignity to all laborers, we honor the sacrifices made by working together in collaboration from a place of respect, bravery, compassion, trust, curiosity, and kindness. And I'd also like to say, as I'm acknowledging the land, it's imperative that we stop the construction of data centers in Colorado as a way of respecting the land. And thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Karime Luna Ortega, and I will be reading a poem called A Worker Reads History by Bertolt Brecht. Who built the 7 gates of Thebes? The books are filled with the names of kings. Was it the kings who hauled the craggy blocks of stone in Babylon, so many times destroyed? Who built the city up each time? In which of Lima's houses? That city, glittering with gold, lived those who built it? In the evening, when the Chinese wall was finished, where did the masons go? Imperial Rome is full of arcs of triumph. Who reared them up? Over whom? Did the Caesars triumph? Byzantium lives in song. Were all her dwellings palaces, and even in Atlantis, of the legend? The night the seas rushed in, the drowning men still bellowed for their slaves. Young Alexander conquered India. He, alone. Caesar beat the Gauls. Was there not even a cook in his army? Philip of Spain wept as he was sunk and destroyed. Were there no other tears? Frederick the Great triumphed in the 7 Years' War. Who triumphed with him? Each page a victory. At whose expense the victory ball? Every 10 years, a great man. Who paid the piper? So many particulars, so many questions. Thank you.
We're doing this together because we've kind of done this together for a while.
Just right in here. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dawn DePrince. I am the president of History Colorado, and I'm going to share a summary background of the Ludlow Massacre as we get started. In September of 1913, Southern Colorado coal miners went on strike. In response, Colorado coal companies expelled the mining families from their company-owned homes. Families slogged through the rain and mud to the open prairie of Southern Colorado, where they occupied makeshift canvas cities. Families, including thousands of their children, lived in tent colonies like the one at Ludlow and endured long months, deep snow, and daily terror. The winter of 1913 and 1914 was especially cold and brutal. And actually, as a side note, the record-breaking snow that year that record has not yet been broken in December of 1913. The strikers and their families survived as best they could in the tent colonies of Southern Colorado, unable to return to their homes. Their movements were restricted by hired mercenaries and the Colorado National Guard. The families relied on each other for support and created a semblance of community. But raids from the militia continued on both the miners and local ranchers who assisted them. In March of 1914, the nearby Forbes tent colony was burned while it was unprotected. And in Ludlow, tensions grew high as Greek Easter approached. Mining families took care of each other during this year, despite language differences. 21 different languages were spoken in the tent colony. They found ways to build community, playing baseball and singing in their community tent, including these words, their union song written by Frank Hayes, the president of the union. "We are fighting for our rights, boys. We are fighting for our homes, shouting the battle cry of union. Men have died to win the struggle. They have died to set us free, shouting the battle cry of union." On April 19, 1914, families at Ludlow celebrated Greek Easter together. Nearby militia taunted the families and were heard to say, quote, "You enjoy your roast today, we will have ours tomorrow." The next morning of April 20th, 1914, the Ludlow tent colony erupted in deadly combat with the armed forces of the coal company on attack. Bullets flew and they lit the tents on fire. At the day's end, 12 children, one shot, the other suffocated under the burning tent. 2 women, 2 miners, a guardsman, and a bystander lay dead, and the tent colony was in ruins. The militia executed strike leader Louis Tikas and 2 other representatives, leaving their bodies where they fell. This event marked the climax of the Colorado Coalfield War, which wouldn't end until December of 1914, and drew the attention of the entire nation. It has left a mark on our state, on our nation, and on our culture. I am a fourth generation descendant of Southern Colorado, and I can say that the people of Southern Colorado still remember Ludlow and what has happened there. And we just continue to try to help others know this story. In the powerful and poetic words of then President of the United Mine Workers, Frank J. Hayes, he wrote, "In the embers gray and red, here we found them where they bled. Here we found them stark and dead, here on Ludlow Field."
So over the past 20 years, we have worked with a number of people in Southern Colorado, and we have been able to either track descendants of the victims of the Ludlow Massacre, or they have found us. And so we're not acknowledging all of the victims of the massacre today. We're acknowledging those that we are in regular contact with. And so I will also add that Linda Linville is joining us from California. And then we also have George Stavroulakis, who should be joining us from Greece as well. So they're watching on the live stream. We have asked family members of those that were killed to come today and to receive a plaque in honor of those family members. So the first family from Ludlow that we'll be acknowledging, or the victims, are Joe, Lucy, and Frank Petrucci. In the picture on the left, you will see Mary Petrucci, who was one of the women that survived the death pit. And on the right, you will see Mary and her husband Thomas, that after they lost their 3 children in the death pit, and this is, I think, one of the most powerful stories, that yet they continued to have more children, and they named some of those children after Joe, Lucy, and Frank Petrucci. And so today we are honored to have Mary Elaine Petrucci, who is the daughter of Frank Petrucci, the second Frank Petrucci, who there are some great YouTube videos of Mary Elaine speaking at the Ludlow Massacre. And during our work on the commission, we all had the honor of meeting Mary Elaine's father. And so this is what we've put together. When Mary Petrucci rose from her underground refuge in April 1914, one of 2 survivors from a cellar in the Ludlow tent colony, she discovered that her 3 children, Joe 4, Lucy 2, and Frank 6 months, had suffocated and died. But Mary Petrucci lost another child in 1914 in the Ludlow tent colony. Her 5-year-old son, Bernard, had died in February from illness related to living in a tent through that extreme winter. Bernard died, according to Mary's granddaughter, Mary Elaine Petrucci, after the militia refused Mary's request to take her sick child to a doctor in Trinidad. Mary's story of losing Bernard has been recorded by Tom Breeding in the Song of Mary Petrucci, which you can also find on YouTube. After the massacre, Mary traveled across the United States, including testifying to Congress, sharing her and her husband's loss. She shared the following: "But you're not to think that we could do any differently another time. We are working people, my husband and I, and we're stronger for the union than we were before the strike. We've paid, I guess you'll admit, and everybody will, that we've paid a pretty big price for our belief. I don't know just how any man and woman can do more than have their children, all their children, taken from them. Do you? But we're not scabs. We never have been, and we never will be. There is sorrow in our hearts, and there always will be, but there isn't any dishonor. I can't have my babies back, but perhaps when everybody knows about them, something will be done to make the world a better place for all babies. At least I like to think so. It is the only thing which gives me any comfort." Mary Elaine, would you like to come up and share a few words? And then I think we have a plaque over here.
I'd like to thank Dr. James Walsh, Robert Lindgren, Terry Gentry, Dr. Nikki Gonzalez, Dr. Montoya, Bob Butero, Dr. Way, Dr. Don DePrince, other dignitaries, honorees, families, and friends. Thank you for this profound honor. I accept this Colorado Labor Hall of Honor Award on behalf of the Petrucci family with deep gratitude and humility. My family's contributions during and after the Ludlow mining strike in 1913-1914 were never about recognition, but standing steadfastly for dignity, fairness, and the rights of working people. Like the spirit echoed in the Gettysburg Address, the Petrucci family legacy reflects a quiet but unwavering belief that the work of justice is never finished, that it is carried forward by each generation willing to stand, speak, and act. In Colorado, the Petrucci family helped strengthen the fabric of workplaces and working communities, reminding us that behind every labor movement are families, sacrifices, and voices that refused to be silent. It is an honor to witness the Petrucci family history recognized in this way. May their legacy continue to inspire all of us to stand, speak, and advocate for the dignity, rights, and opportunities for all. The Petrucci family struggle in the coal fields of southern Colorado led to the labor union movement, which gave rise to the middle class and all the amenities we now enjoy. What an enduring legacy for future generations to remember. Thank you again for this great honor.
William Frank Snyder Jr. William Frank Snyder Jr. was 11. When he was killed in violence, he likely did not understand. His family mourned his loss. Their lives forever changed. Father's livelihood and was charged with murder. Mother Alia worked to raise their remaining children, while their oldest brother Edward returned to the mines to support the family. Even so, the Snyders' belief in the power of a strong union never wavered. Bill helped organize window cleaners in Denver, joined by 3 of his sons. Ed later served as president of the Keebler Local and was in Denver when the 1933 UMWA plan was signed. Brother George joined Local 96 in Kansas City in 1934, passing in 1984 as his last surviving charter member. Though Frank's life was tragically cut short, his family carried forward the spirit of solidarity for generations. Through their continued work in the labor movement, they ensured that his memory and the sacrifices of all the families at Ludlow would never be forgotten. While this honor is given in Frank's name, the family stands with him in remembrance of all those who fought in southern Colorado for justice and workers' rights. Would you please welcome Cindy and Linda Duggar, representatives of Bill Snyder Jr.
And I'm going to ask if Rose Garcia and Loretta Pedregon can kind of start making their way up so we can do the next one right after that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. On behalf of the Snyder family, my name is Cindy. This is my sister, Linda. We want to thank the committee. What a wonderful, wonderful honor this has been. And especially, I want to thank Mr. Butero for bringing us to Dr. Montoya and to Dr. Larkin, who is not with us today. Our great uncle, Frankie, was shot in the head. He was 11 years old. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and the story is very difficult. The militia said that he was running in and out between tents, tempting the people to shoot at him. But his father said no. No, he was hiding, and he was trying to get water for his sister, and he was caressing her on the cheek when a bullet came through the tent and killed him. He fell into his father's arms, and there he laid on the floor until he died. The family stayed in the tent for the rest of the night. They were in a hole just like everybody else, hiding, trying to get away from the firing. And they finally left. When they were finally forced out of the tent by the flames that came up and were started by the militia, Father William asked for help to carry his son, his dead son. He was holding his smallest daughter, Maybelle, whose picture is up there, by the hand. And he had a militiaman tell him, "You're a strong man, you do it." He was threatened with his life. His wife screamed, "Please stop, we've had enough today." Frank was dead. William's career was over, and the family continued on. But the one thing that the family never lost was their belief in a strong union, in the rights of the workers, and that was passed on throughout all of the generations. As Bob said, my great uncle George was a founding member of one of the unions in Kansas City. My great grandfather William continued to work to organize by creating one of the first window washers union in Denver. His sons joined that union, and my grandfather stayed loyal to that union until the day that he died. As a teenager, I walked the picket lines against Continental Airlines with my mother, and I helped my father fill out his Teamster paperwork as a truck driver. We are very proud of the legacy that the unions have brought into the state for the rights of workers, and we continue and hope for their strong survival in the future, as difficult as that is. We accept this on behalf of all of the Ludlow families. There are a lot of them that are not here today. And on behalf of all of the workers who were told their life was worth less than the coal they pulled out of the ground or the mule that carried it out of the mine. Their answer then is our answer now. An injury to one is an injury to all. Thank you very much.
Alcarita Martinez Pedregon emerged from the death pit with Mary Petrucci. Alcarita had entered the death pit with at least two of her children, Rogelio, 6 years, and Clorivo, 4 years. On the Ludlow monument, Clorivo is listed as Cloriva, but interviews with the lineal descendants of the parents revealed that it was two young boys who had died. While Alcarita and her husband Max, or Marcilano, mourned the loss of their two sons, they found that life after the massacre did not get much easier. And much of the Pedregon family story was lost to history books because the name on the monument was spelled with an E, and there are some books that report that Alcarita actually died in the death pit. But after the death of her two children, Alcarita raised her surviving son, Andrew, who you'll see on the closest to us. Andrew was in the tent colony during the year and a half year that they had been in the tent colony. And with miracle or luck, Andrew survived, and through his descendants, the Pedregon story of the Ludlow massacre and its aftermath has survived for more than a century in the homes of Andrew's children who grew up without an extended family, no uncles and no cousins. And while the Pedregons lost Rogelio and Clorivo, the family's legacy of hard work and the cherishing of their history continues today. So I would like the family of Rogelio and Clorivo Pedregon to stand. And I would like to invite you to have Rose Garcia and Loretta Pedregon, the granddaughters of Alcarita and Marcelino Pedregon.
We thank you. Hi, I'm Loretta Pedregon, and this is my sister Rose Garcia. We are honored to be here as the daughters of Andrew Pedregon, whom along with his mother and father, Alcarita and Marcelino, were survivors of the Ludlow Massacre. At this time, I would like to thank Linda LaVille for reaching out to me and introducing me to Karen Larkin and Fawn Montoya. Meeting them and their sharing with Rose and me their research and knowledge has made us aware of how important this is. Throughout our many visits to Ludlow, we left notes stating we were family of the Pedregon survivors, hoping to get some form of response, which we never did, and we never pursued it. We are so happy that there will be a name change and the spelling of Pedregon and my uncle's name.
And I'm going to close by saying that our grandmother Alcarita, our grandfather Marcelino, my dad Andrew, would be so very honored knowing that this is all taking place finally, that we're being recognized, and that this has taken place at Ludlow, and to hope that it will continue in the history so that everybody could know what has gone on during the Ludlow Massacre. And we want to take this time to thank all of you for the beautiful plaques that we're receiving, and we're very honored to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to share about the Costa family. Charlie, Seralina, Onofrio, Lucy, and baby Tony, who died before the coalfield strike began. Charlie and Seralina Costa were both immigrants from Italy and Sicily who came for the promise of America, but they soon found instead that they were trapped in a life of industrial slavery. They realized that joining the United Mine Workers of America was their only hope for a better life. And both of them, Charlie and Seti, were union organizers in Aguilar, Colorado. They would host parties and coal camps with dancing and music to recruit miners for the union. They paid a steep cost for their working and living conditions when in August of 1913, before the strike started, they lost a child to illness and poverty. And then less than a year later, on April 20th, 1914, the entire family lost their lives. A full-term pregnant Seralina and her children Lucy and Onofrio took shelter from the violence underground in the maternity cellar, while Charlie fought against the militia. He was shot in the head and killed in battle. Later that same day, his pregnant wife and 2 young children would suffocate under the flames of a burning tent. The entire family, again, was lost. Linda Linville has a descendant grandniece of Charlie and Seralina Costa. She is not able to join us this evening, but she has been a good partner of ours for a number of years and sent a note. She says, "It is a great honor to be with you in spirit tonight. I regret I cannot be in person. I am the grandniece of Charlie and Seralina Costa. Charlie was my grandfather's younger brother. My grandparents left the Colorado mining camps and made their way to California in 1923, hoping to leave the tragedy of Ludlow behind. Even though they were hundreds of miles away, the memory of Ludlow never left our family. As I grew older, my aunts and grandmother began to share the brutal details of their lives in the mining camps, the efforts to unionize, the armed conflict and the tragedy of the Ludlow massacre, how an entire branch of the family, Charlie, Catalina, Onofrio, Lucy, and the unborn baby, had been killed at Ludlow. My grandmother had horrible memories of seeing Catalina's body, which she had said had been bayoneted, which is not part of the official record. But it makes me wonder how much about the history has been erased. It is often a hidden history. In history classes, we only heard about great captains of industry like Rockefeller, who made our nation rich with industrialization and did great deeds of charity. No mention made of the lack of charity towards the workers on whose backs they made their fortune. That is why I'm so appreciative of those of you in the United Mine Workers of America and the Colorado Labor Hall of Honor for establishing a home to recognize and remember the people who have worked tirelessly and sacrificed so much in the ongoing struggle for workers' rights. It is with a full heart that I thank you on behalf of my ancestral family members who were witness to what happened on that April day so long ago. I am sure their spirits are with you tonight and rest easier in the knowledge that they have not been forgotten. Thank you, Linda Linville.
John Giovanni Bartolotti. John Bartolotti, Italian and UMWA organizer, was shot while returning to the burning tent colony to rescue his wife and 7 children. The Bartolottis hid in a tent cellar, a well, and a haystack to evade the gunfire. Then they learned that their father had been imprisoned and executed by the National Guardsmen. His wife, Virginia, stated about the strike, "The soldiers can put me and my 7 children in jail if they want to, but I'm going on the picket line and keep the scabs from coming in and starving us to death." Nobody from the Bartolotti family will be here tonight.
And then our last individual is Louis Tikas, who was the leader of the Ludlow tent colony. He was beloved by the striking miners and their families. On April 20th, 1914, after the fighting began between the Ludlow encampment and the Colorado National Guard, Tikas ran through the camp trying to get people to safety. Tikas remained in the camp the whole day, attempting to evacuate as many people as possible. Tikas attempted to stop the fighting by appealing to the Guard's leadership. His appeal for peace was met with Lieutenant Carl Lindenfeld breaking the butt of his rifle over Tikas' head. Tikas was later found dead, having been shot in the back. His body left along the railroad tracks. And then this is a video, hopefully.
που θυσιάστηκαν στη μάχη του Λάντλου το 1914. Χαίρομαι που διατηρείται ζωντανό το πνεύμα και την ιστορία των ανθρακοείτων. Δυστυχώς, λόγω έλλειψης χρόνου, δεν μπόρεσα να παρευρεθώ στη σημερινή εκδήλωση. Αυτό το διάστημα ετοιμάζουμε στην Ελλάδα ένα ντοκιμαντέρ με την ιστορία του Λούι Τίκα και της σφαγής του Λάντλου. Επίσης, βρίσκονται σε εξέλιξη και οι εργασίες αποκατάστασης του σπιτιού και του ελαιοτριβείου του Λούι Τίκα στην Κρήτη για να γίνει μουσείο. Ελπίζω του χρόνου να παρευρεθώ στις εκδηλώσεις και να δω την εξέλιξη των σημαντικών έργων που θα γίνουν στην Ελλάδα και στο μνημείο του Λάντλου. Έδωσα στην Ένωση Ανθρακοείτων Αμερικής το σενάριο για κινηματογραφική ταινία που έγραψα για την ιστορία της σφαγής του Λάντλου. Εύχομαι να μπορέσει να βρεθεί εταιρεία παραγωγής που θα αναδείξει αυτή την τόσο σημαντική ιστορία της θυσίας των Ανθρακοείτων και του Λούι Τίκα στο Λάντλου. Καλή επιτυχία στην εκδήλωση που διοργανώνεται και σας ευχαριστώ μέσα από την καρδιά μου ξανά για την τιμή που μου κάνετε. Εύχομαι να σας συναντήσω σύντομα από κοντά. Γεια σας.
Our next awardee comes here from Denver, Colorado. The United Mine Workers was formed in 1890, and when you read stories, especially about the mining wars in Colorado, the Western Federation miners' strike in 1903 and in Cripple Creek, and then of course the Ludlow strike in 1914, and then the Northern Coalfield Wars in 1928. One of the stories you hear about is the Denver Area Labor Federation. As I said before, the United Mine Workers was formed in 1890, and the Denver Area Labor Federation was formed in 1882, 8 years earlier. And it held the labor movement together as the umbrella organization of all unions at that time. Back in them days, most of the union members were craft union members, building trades, and a lot of the miners. And back in that day, a worker did not have a legal right to form or join a union. The only way you had to form or join a union was to ask your employer to recognize your union. And if they failed to do that, then your only other regulation was to strike. And the Denver Area Labor Federation was there to support these miners and other unions in helping the labor movement grow in the state of Colorado. And it wasn't until 1935 that a U.S. worker had the right to join and form a union, a legal right that was protected by the National Labor Relations Act. And from that time, during that period in 1935 and on, was the formation of the middle class in Colorado and in the United States. And the Denver Area Labor Federation was part of that. They also went through the turbulent times in 1948 when the Taft-Hartley law was passed, one of the most anti-labor laws ever to exist in this country. And they went on to support through thick and thin all the way up until today. And to accept the nomination award tonight, I want to recognize the current president, John Alvino, two past presidents, John Fleck, and current House member Representative Sheila Linder, and a fellow officer, Eric Olson. Please welcome the Denver Federation of Labor.
Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate that. Thank you to Dr. Walsh. Thank you to Robert, and to all those on the organizing committee. And thank you to all the other inductees. You know, when Dr. Walsh and I got together some time ago for a cup of coffee, he told me about this idea, and I agreed with him when he said something like this was long overdue. But it wasn't until just now, sitting through that I realized how true that is. So, again, I want to say thank you to everybody for on the organizing committee. Sorry, lost my notes there. So it's a true honor as the president of the Denver Area Labor Federation to accept this on behalf of all those who have carried the torch before me. Two of them are up here. John Fleck, Representative Sheila Leader. I want to thank Eric Olson for being here tonight as well. I'd also like to, even though she's not here, recognize and thank Madison Castles, who is our community organizing director. Thank you for that. Madison is at a CWA event and out of town, but she is truly a rock for me in my position and the most consistent thing that this organization has had for the last decade and a half. So my hat is off to her, and I thank her for that. I'm truly lucky to have her. Again, would like to thank all past presidents, Dewey Jackson, Josh Downey, Leslie Moody, Bill Himmelman, and probably so many more that I've yet to even hear of, or anyone else who carried forth this work in the past. You know, I know Bill Himmelman. I never had an opportunity to meet him, but recently I met his son about a year or so ago. His son John shared with me Bill's autobiography, and what impacted me the most about when I read that book was, what struck me was Bill's belief that how the labor movement had changed his life, and how becoming a labor leader was answering his calling. And that's just like so many of us in this room, just showing up and answering your calling. So to all of you, I want to say thank you for stepping up. Thank you for answering your calling, and thank you for making those sacrifices and lifting all of us up. So thank you.
Sheila, did you have anything you wanted to say? Did you have anything?
All right, thank you so much. What's that? Yes, this is made by sheet metal workers, so thank you for that. You do? Representative Leader.
I just want to add one thing. Those tents at Ludlow in 1914, those came from the Denver Area Labor Federation. They were donated. Thank you.
Friends, our next awardee, you can notice a common theme tonight is the role that immigrant workers have played in our state's history. And our next awardee was also, her family was immigrants from Croatia. Milka Savlich, her father was a coal miner in southern Colorado. She made the 8th grade. She waited tables, she worked in a laundry, and she packed butter in a dairy. But when the coal miners went on strike, she went to the picket lines. She was 19. When the guards began arresting the strikers and deporting them, at that time they would put them on trains and leave them in the middle of the desert in New Mexico or western Kansas. They called that deportation. Milka started fighting with the guards physically. She developed a reputation as a fighter. She was once dragged by a mine guard on horseback for 50 yards in Walsenburg and hospitalized. She was jailed at least twice and offered freedom if she agreed not to go back to the picket line, and she refused. She lost her mother as a teenager, and when the strike broke out, she went to the picket line every day at 4 a.m. to serve coffee to the strikers, wearing a red dress. This red dress led to her nickname, Flamin' Milka. She said, "The women and children of Colorado were as active as I was. They went to jail just as I did, and sang, and they sang and they marched. I've been called a damned agitator. I guess I am one." We honor her posthumously. Milka lived until 1994. And she didn't have any direct descendants to be here to accept this award. So we have an historian who's done a lot of work on this strike to accept it for her.
All right, thank you. I wanted to just
say a few words about our next speaker who's accepting this award, Lee Campbell Hale. She's the author of this book, Remembering Ludlow but Forgetting the Columbine. It's a brilliant book. I really enjoyed reading it, and I think it's one of the better labor histories from Colorado. It's not just about this strike. It's actually about memory as well, and oral history, and a lot of really interesting and engaging things. So I will suggest that you pick this up, and I want to welcome up Lee Campbell Hale.
Thanks. Well, thanks. It is brilliant. Just kidding. Not really. It is brilliant. I'm a retired teacher. If I had ever had a group sit this long, I never had a group sit this long. So I cannot believe you're still here. So if you need to move or anything like that, I really encourage you to do that, because this is too long to sit. Hi, Susan. How are you? Susan and I work together at Fairview. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Kids can't sit this long, and neither can adults. I know you're tuned out. I'll try to do my best. I did write this brilliant book, available wherever you can buy books, not like your podcast, which we have a podcast you could listen to. Amelia Milka Sablich was a labor hero. And I am so glad to be here to tell you a little bit about her. Her fearless leadership helped make the 1927-1928 Colorado coal strike one of the few success stories of that era. Until the Great Depression wiped out most of their gains, they actually won the strike, imagine that. Her role in the strike was shaped not only by her past, but also by her present. That is, the time and place that propelled her into leadership. Although her personal history explains her passionate support for striking miners, she did more than offer support. She led. She willingly, enthusiastically turned herself into the public face of the strike. That took bravery, because the mainstream press, the general reading public, established labor leaders in the state and throughout the nation, and others tried their best to ridicule and shame her into silence. But instead of shunning the spotlight, she jumped into it every chance she got. At one of the early, what I know about her, I learned from Richard Meyer's essay in the book Slaughter and Serene, the Columbine Reader. Myers and fellow worker Lowell May, both deceased, they wrote, assembled, and sold this book, a collection of essays about that 1927-1928 strike. I bought it from May himself in 2005, the year it came out, at the Bread and Roses Cultural Center in Denver. I also bought 2 T-shirts they printed. One was of the IWW, and the other was of Mother Jones. And both of those shaped the strike and Sablich. When Sablich was a little girl, he already told you that her parents came over from Croatia, okay. These folks came over in this massive wave from the late 1800s to World War I. Oftentimes, these folks were brought in to be scabs. But once they got here, they I'm not going to be a scab. And most of them ended up joining the Union. So it backfired, So her parents and others went on strike during the long strike, which was from 1910 to 1914, right? Because the strike started in Lafayette, folks, when in 1910, the United Mine Workers refused to extend the agreement with the miners there. So for 2 years, it was fought in the north. It only moved down south in 1913 when it wasn't successful. And that's when the most violent phase started, okay? That's when Milka Sablich got into the spotlight. When the strike officially started, October 18th, 1927, she and others went to these coal towns and started picketing at the very few places that were remaining open. And she led the pickets. And these other people led the pickets. And newspaper stories started appearing calling them Amazons. These Amazons, these Amazons, these crazy women, these women with nursing babies, And then the story picked up. And at one of these picketing events, she was wearing a red dress. Well, you know how newspapers are, right? Especially in 1927, when there was a newspaper war between the Denver Post and the Rocky Mountain News. They were trying to generate as much publicity as possible. So they started calling her the girl in red, the girl in red. And she leaned into it. She started wearing red at every strike, at every event she went to. And then they started calling her Flaming Milka. In the 1920s, the saying was flaming youth, right? And she was flaming youth. And she sold newspapers. And she leaned into it. So every chance she got, she put herself in front of the cameras. And there were lots of them. She talked to reporters, even from the hospital bed after she had been trampled by horses, right? She did all this stuff when really the whole idea of calling her an Amazon, all this was to humiliate her and try to say, oh, if there were real men, they wouldn't let their women get out front, you know? And then the men in the strike said, yeah, watch this. And they started putting more women in the strike. So every event started with a mass rally, and at these mass rallies, it always started with women called the Rebel Girls, who started off with a big song, singing Rebel Girl, you know, written by Joe Hill for Elizabeth Gurley Flynn in 1916. Women were speakers, including Flaming Milka. So they spoke, they sang, they organized, they got arrested, they got hurt, and they changed the course of the strike. And the workers won a pay raise. They got a contract, which was interesting because the strike had been led by the industrial workers of the world. But Josephine Roach came in and got a contract with United Mine Workers, which is a whole nother story. After the strike, the IWW sent her off to college, a workers' school in Duluth. Scenic Duluth, actually Duluth is pretty scenic. Minnesota to the workers' college. The workers' college movement didn't quite work out. And after that, she fades from view. She probably died a miner's wife in 1994 in Carbon County, Utah. You'd never know it. But you would also never know that one of the women who led the strike was named Elizabeth Baranek from Lafayette, mother of 17 children, who also took a leading role in the strike. And by the time she died, she was winning Mother of the Year awards in Lafayette. So people change, right? And what I am getting at, because when I taught, I was also a union organizer, not a great one. I tried, I kind of was not great at it. All organizers are products of their time and place, you know? And she was a product of her time and place. And today, it'll be interesting to see who emerges from this particular time and place as a labor leader. It was the labor leaders of Minneapolis who came together to organize the very beginning of that resistance. I'm seeing more and more anti-union, I just read an anti-union editorial about teachers in the Maine, Colorado newspaper yesterday, how no teachers should be organized, you know, because schools are better when teachers aren't organized, you know? And so we're starting to see this anti-union rhetoric coming up. And you know why? Because unions are reviving. And when unions start reviving, the hate comes out. So I'm wondering who in this room is our next leader. Who is going to be our next leader for this time and place? Because that's what it's all about. Thank you. Milka says thanks.
Yeah, Lee also works with the Lafayette Museum, so it's a great place to visit, and hopefully that'll have a place of prominence there. Again, great book. We love our educators. We love our teachers. Let's hear it for all of our teachers here. Like my wife, Megan, right there. She's going to teach her fourth grade. She's going to read them the speech she heard earlier. All right, so our next award goes to the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, the local here in Denver, Local 465. We'll hear from Terry Gentry in a short minute. What I love about this is that oftentimes things got knocked down in Denver. We say this is where things used to be, and you can go to the Porter and Waiters Club. It's next to Cervantes on Welton Street. You can't go inside. They own it. Cervantes owned it. I checked the property records. It used to be a bar until 2009. I regret not going up there when I could have had the chance, but I do love that you can still see it. It looks like they're taking care of it. They're opening the windows in the summer. They're closing them in the winter. That's what we'd like them to do. The Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters was such an important aspect of Colorado's labor history and of the middle class in 5 Points. And I go back into our oldest convention books to find things out, and you just to be able to read these things that union brought forward around racial equality in our conventions, in rooms like this where we had those conventions. So I want to welcome up Terry Gentry. I hope she's around. Oh, there we go. I want to welcome up Terry Gentry to talk a little bit about the Sleeping Porters Union and her connections therein. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good evening. I am Terry Gentry. I have a very special place in my heart for the sleeping car porters and the waiters. My grandfather, George Washington Smith Jr., was a waiter on Union Pacific Railroad, and listening to some of the stories of his life experiences were life-changing. He was also a World War II veteran. And looking at all of the things I've been learning about him, he was also a Mason. He was one of the members of the Owl Club of Denver. The Owl Club of Denver started with porters and waiters back in 1941. He joined in 1947. They're getting ready to have their 75th gala for the debutante presentation in a month. Okay. And looking at some of the kids that I grew up with in Northeast Denver, that's how a lot of the families arrived in Denver because of the railroad industry. A lot of folks moved here. It was a main stop, with the Transcontinental Railroad. Denver became a main stopping point, so a lot of folks moved to Denver to work on the railroads. And so it's part of our normal life history with all the kids that we grew up with in Northeast Denver. I don't know if you know the history that the porters started with George Pullman in the sleeping cars. About 1867, he started hiring black men specifically to serve the trains. They had just come out of slavery, and he wanted to continue having that particular demeanor that they had to wear during slavery when they were on the trains, and how their behavior toward the guests on the trains. And they went through a lot of stuff, and so I don't know if you know A. Philip Randolph worked to have them organized into a union, and it took from about 1925 to 1937 to finally get them organized into a union. And I won't keep going because I can keep you sitting here talking about this history for about 6 or 7 days. There's so much rich history. We also want to make sure people understand that they were a critical part of black travel for us. So we always hear about the Green Book, but we don't talk about the work that they did. We don't hear about the work, the things that they taught us about different places around the country, why we had so many people moving out of the South and moving west or north, and learning about different locations around the state. The list goes on and on and on about the work that the sleeping car porters and waiters have done. And he'd mentioned the porters and waiters down on Welton Street. That's closed now, but when we conduct the 5 Points walking tour, we still want to make sure you know where that location is. So I'll just stop here because I figure maybe at another time we can have a class we can sit down and start teaching you about this history. And we just need you to set aside, about 3 hours a week for the next 6 months. And we're happy to share this history with you. But I am thoroughly, thoroughly grateful and appreciative because I love celebrating my grandfather and all of the people that are before me and the reason that I'm here tonight. So thank you all so much. Yes, sir.
When you go back to one of the things that
yes.
What happened to this country last week?
Yes.
Where we lost a Supreme Court room. We lost some of those voting rights.
Yes.
And we ought to honor him. Look what he did. Him Martin Luther King.
Yes.
Look what he did for the voting rights, not only for African Americans, but for all of U.S. citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you bringing that up. 'Cause, yes, Mr. Randall, he marched with Dr. King when he was 75 years old. Brother didn't play. All kinds of rights. So.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a teacher too, and I would like to invite you all to stand up and stretch, and there are some cookies. We do have gluten-free cookie options, dairy-free cookie options, but I'd like to invite you to move around a little bit, get a little sugar in your system.
You're a teacher, you can take the breath too. So.
Yeah.
We got the cookies.
Got the cookies. Oh, conversation.
You can break as long as you want.
Okay. Yeah, I think that people are getting more food too.
Yeah.
So.
It was good. We needed some tension break here.
Yeah, it's very heavy stories.
And I was thinking, one thought for the future, maybe I'll do some videos that have some music transitions or things. Like I had so much time this time. Like we're lucky we got tablecloths on the tables, but
The centerpieces turned out nice.
oh, they look wonderful.
She took it very seriously.
Oh, they're wonderful. I can't when they pull those off. I'm like, that's like a wedding,
I know. When these arrived, I was like, oh wow, they're tiny. This is a great turnout, Robert. This is impressive.
I need to make sure they did put out the.
Okay.
And like I said, we have the blank one and we have the ones, and that's what they say on the back.
Great.
And probably wait until the next year to get them to do one for us, but we'll just remember to do one if we get them.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, these are beautiful.
Let's fire it up. We still have 6 more.
I know.
We'll try to go through them quickly.
I'll make mine short.
You can whisper in everyone's ear.
I know. I should ask the family to start making their way up here.
Because I'm not certain that she's going to see it. That's okay. We're talking about March when she comes up. She probably wants to see it. But then part of the problem is that in these cases.
Put a chair up.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
This is just
Let's do it.
So, Jim, we're going to have Marge sit up. Yeah.
Okay.
So, oh. Okay, everyone, let's make our way back to your seats, and we'll go ahead and introduce our next inductee. And in preparation for our next inductee, I'd like to invite the family of Jenny Sanchez up to the front, please. So David, Edward, Rana, and Shelley, if you could make your way up here, please. We're going to go ahead and get some.
You want me to hold your purse?
Yes. I'll kind of keep it a little bit short. Okay, everyone. Our next inductee into the Colorado Labor Hall of Honor are the lettuce strikers of 1973 from Center, Colorado. And just to give you a brief history of this group, they were part of the United Farm Workers of America, and you've all heard of that organization, who led many strikes in California and throughout the West. And in 1970, there were a series of what they call salad bowl strikes that began in California and also came here to Colorado. And one of the most famous of those salad bowl strikes took place in Center, Colorado, in the San Luis Valley in 1973. And in the end, the United Farm Workers of America gained higher wages and other concessions from the Mel Feinerman Company Incorporated. And so that was a victory. And it is my pleasure to present the Labor Hall of Honor Award to Jenny Sanchez, who is watching us right now from Center, Colorado. She's 94 and could not make it here, but I had the most delightful conversation on the phone with her, and she is still very much full of fire and wants to inspire the younger generations to fight for justice. And I want to read you just a short passage about Jenny's life. In addition to helping to organize the strike of 1973, Jenny has lived her whole life committed to justice and equality for her people, the Mexicanos, Chicanos, Latinos of Center, Colorado. She made her voice and that of her people heard. Through her organizing, the power of the Voting Rights Act and the Southern struggles of the 60s came to Center, Colorado, as Latinos addressed similar circumstances and conditions. Many Mexicanos together challenged and changed inequalities which were established in the governance of the town center, Colorado, in the center school system, the county of Saguache, and beyond. In 1973, Jenny Sanchez was the lead plaintiff in the voting rights federal lawsuit that established a Colorado State House district that could elect a Latino representative. So without further ado, I want to introduce Shelley, her good friend Shelley, part of the family, to say a little bit more about Jenny. I also want to introduce her two sons, David and Eddie, and David's wife, Rana. So thank you for making the journey here, and I'll let Shelley take the mic.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak about my friend, colleague, and mentor, Jenny Jaramillo Sanchez, and honoring her lifelong commitment to equality for herself and for people. Jenny's values came from her roots in northern New Mexico, yet Jenny was born and raised in the San Luis Valley. And in the San Luis Valley, that's where white farmers dominated the town and created second-class citizens for Mexicanos. However, Jenny's family, other people. Jenny was in her 30s when JFK was assassinated, and there was that moment in time when the federal government decided to address the war on poverty and forge equality in the country. Those opportunities from the war on poverty reached Center Colorado through Colorado Migrant Council. The Colorado Migrant Council hired Jenny as an organizer and a teacher, and she used that position to bring federal money and programs to Center. Thus, hope was alive in Center Colorado in 1970 when the growing season began. And the lettuce strike was actually in 1970. And what happened was, in June, the pre-harvest lettuce workers began their field work. It was hot, and as they said in their strike song, $1.40 an hour, it just ain't enough. They walked out of the field in an attempt to get higher wages. No one from the outside organized the strike. No union workers were present the night that they decided to strike. Jenny's role was pivotal in the strike going forward because the leaders of the walkout came to Jenny and asked for help. She reached in to her bag of people that can help and called the Colorado Migrant Council, the United Farm Workers in California, and tapped into her connections to Colorado workers. They needed that because there was no one who was ready to organize picketing or any other part of having a strike. The pre-harvest strikers stayed the course for the entire summer. They walked daily on the picket lines. They recruited other strikers. They attended almost nightly meetings and had outside labor and Chicano speakers and a teatro. With the absolutely necessary help from the outside, they planned a farm worker march from Pueblo to Denver, bringing state and national attention to the farm workers and the farm workers in Colorado. A side note here is the lettuce strike that Nikki referred to was by the cutters of the lettuce, the ones who went out to the field and took the iceberg lettuce and got it into boxes and got it to the stores. The issue for lettuce is that the cutters had a lot more power with the farmers to get an agreement, and they in fact did, and by joining other unions. The original strikers, the ones that walked out of the fields, ended the summer with the Farm Workers' March from Pueblo to Denver. The work of Centro Chicanos claiming their equality was only at the beginning, and yet they were on the threshold. Jenny's work for civil rights and equality has continued to the present. Thank you.
So now I present them with the honor.
For our next inductee, I'll welcome up Dr. William Way.
This one's fine. Yes, this one I don't have to mess with it. Right?
Yeah.
I'm back. Hey, okay. I have the privilege of introducing Marge Tanawaki, whom I have known for what feels like forever. Well, at least since 1980, when I first arrived in Colorado. If memory serves, we first met at the Tri Buddhist Temple, where we were both speaking to the Asian Pacific American community. What has stayed with me ever since is our powerful account of the imprisonment of Japanese Americans in concentration camps during World War II, the worst mass violation of civil liberties in American history. As a child, Marge was incarcerated with a family at Manzanar, an experience that forged her lifelong commitment to speak out against racism and state violence. After the war, she grew up in Colorado and became deeply involved in community organizing, public education, and efforts to preserve the memory of Japanese American imprisonment, including the Amachi concentration camp in southeastern Colorado. She has become widely known for her ability to connect past injustices to present struggles, standing in solidarity with immigrants, indigenous communities, and others facing displacement, surveillance, and incarceration today. For 3 decades, Marge has also been a vital voice on community radio, co-producing Spanish-English programming that highlights movements for human rights and dignity across the Americas. Whether she is speaking to students, marching in the streets, or sharing her story over the airwaves, she reminds us that never again must apply to everyone, and that each of us has a role to play in resisting injustice. Please join me in welcoming Marge Tanawaki, a Japanese-American elder, activist, and storyteller who has devoted her life to the struggle of justice. Yes, I will. Okay. Oh, okay. It's okay.
Oh, thanks very much. 2.5 minutes. All of us who are in the struggle have come to it in many ways. Through the memories of our own lives, through the stories handed down from our ancestors, and through the injustices we know continue to occur with each rotation of the earth. My great-great-grandfather, Murakaki Awaji-Nakami, or the Lord of Awaji, traveled from Japan to the United States as a diplomat in the spring of 1860. Under pressure, Murakaki signed treaties of amity and commerce with President Buchanan in 1926. I should actually have that. I owe the United States government everything that I am today, which is an unrepentant activist. 3 years prior to Muragaki's year-long diplomatic mission, the U.S. forced open trade with Japan by sailing black ships into Edo, now Tokyo Harbor, ending nearly 300 years of self-imposed isolation by the island nation of Japan. History repeats itself today as the U.S. continues similar policies of military takeovers of other nations in a seemingly never-ending search for natural resources and human labor to exploit. Even though Muragaki's year-long diplomatic mission from Japan to the United States took place, his descendants, of which I am one, are still considered other in this country. Most of our communities have sayings that we try to follow to guide us in our lives. For Japanese, one of those sayings is "Kono no tameni," for the sake of the children. What we do is for the sake of the children. So we listen and learn, support those, and share what we have. There is enough for all to exist on this fragile earth, if only we care for it and for each other. One other saying I have learned is "La lucha sigue," the struggle continues. I want to thank all of you for allowing me to join you in this struggle. Adelante.
Our next inductee is a dear friend of mine, Richard Rosenblatt. I am going to attempt a technological change. We'll see. I already knocked something over.
So Richard has been a defender of workers through his work with the AFL-CIO and many other unions. He recently retired, and it makes me sad because it means we won't have our conversations that we had in the past, where he mostly told me I was right, and once in a while, very rarely, told me I was wrong. Again, as we were looking at folks to honor, I thought of someone who had just recently left full-time work in the labor movement, who had built something that I've seen with my own eyes, and so I wanted to honor Richard Rosenblatt and welcome him to speak. Thank you. All right, let's see who got it. All right, it's on mine. 1 second, Richard. Sorry, 1 second, Richard. We're getting it up. Is it going? Okay, try there. Oh, I'm muted now. No, that's not, okay, that's, my audio is not muted. I am very sorry. We're gonna go to the backup plan. Yeah, that's the backup plan.
My bad.
All right, hold on. Oh, that's it. All right, Richard, sorry. I'm going to hold you up to the mic. All right, thank you.
Colorado unions and workers for the past 20 years. I mention that only because Howard Jenkins was not only born and raised in Denver, Colorado, but he was the first African American to be passed. When I moved to Colorado, my first two clients were the International Typographical Union, which at that time was the international union in the United States of 125 years, and they were located in Colorado Springs, of all places, Colorado. And the United Mine Workers were Bob Zero. And if you want to grow up quickly as a union warrior, just represent the mine workers in a strike. As shown by some others being on it tonight, unions have been an essential fabric in the history of working people in Colorado for over a century. To just be a small part of that great history is both humbling and amazingly rewarding. I'm one of many attorneys that have represented unions and working people, and I'd just like to mention a few. Phil Hornbein, who was the first union attorney in the state, his son Phil Jr., and Marla Grauer. These three attorneys laid the groundwork before me. It is an honor to follow in their footsteps. Thank you for this honor. I am truly humbled. Thank you.
Thanks so much. All right. Take care, Richard. All right, I'm going to try to get this back. All right, and I welcome up Fawn.
So here's a great picture of Richard. You want that to go ahead and start coming up? And I'm going to make sure I talk slower. Today we're honoring also Mike and Yolanda Romero. Mike's unable to be here with us today. At the age of 23, Mike decided to take a job as a coal miner, like his father and grandfather before him, and he simultaneously became a member of the United Mine Workers of America. and after only a few years, Mike was elected president of the local union. Mike was later elected to international board for the UMWA, and Mike continues to serve as the local union president. He is co-founder and acting chairman of the board for the Southern Colorado Coal Miners Memorial and Museum. Yolanda, after completing her degree in psychology at Trinidad State Junior College, began working for a radio station, KCRT, as both a receptionist and host of Women's World. Yolanda has been an active and engaged leader in the community. She is also co-founder and president of the United Mine Workers Women's Auxiliary. And I will note that the Women's Auxiliary in Trinidad has been very important in remembering the Ludlow Massacre, but also remembering the contributions of Mother Jones. She is currently co-founder and acting president of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and co-founder and acting secretary-treasurer for the Southern Colorado Coal Miners Memorial and Museum. Yolanda also received the Mother Jones Award for her outstanding service to the Auxiliary and Women in Business by the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Hello, folks. Thank you for being here. I'd like to begin by thanking the committee here for selecting all these deserving folks for this wonderful award. I'd like to also, since her family's here, please say hello to Jenny, because Jenny and I were involved together, Jenny from Center, with quality education at the state level some time ago. That was around the days of the Chicano Education Project. I'd like to say that I began my work with the United Mine Workers back in the early 70s when my husband Mike started his work with as a coal miner at the mines in Trinidad. Since then, been involved with Ludlow and what takes place in Ludlow. We go there each year to pay our respects for those who passed there, as well as we now have a museum in Trinidad that recognizes Ludlow and the folks who passed there. And so we are there able to provide education to local districts for students to learn about Ludlow, something which we were never taught way back when we were in high school, junior high, and even grade school. But today, we're able to pass that education on to those students and others who come, visiting tourists, anyone else willing to learn about the history that happened in southern Colorado, our community there. We go each year, the end of June, to pay our respects. We use it as a time to reminisce as family and friends, and also a means to raise monies for our museum down in Trinidad. Also, I'd like to thank my family publicly, because without their support and their help, nothing of this would have been possible. And so I'd like to thank this committee also, and all the mine workers who have helped throughout time, during all those strikes in the early 70s and on. We basically helped, to provide food for the striking miners and able to learn about, coal mining and what strikes are about and why unions are so important, to the worker. And as my husband Mike always says, the fight continues, the fight goes on, it never ends. And so with that, we continue as well. We're, on the backside, but we're there anyway to support. So I thank you, Fawn, for everything, and thank you, folks, for making this possible. Appreciate it.
Pardon? Yes.
Well, I'm back up here because we have a really special treat, and I would like for all of you to come up. The Coalition for Black Trade Unionists, please come on up. I'd like them to come up. They have such an incredible history and story, so I'd like them to tell you a little bit about their experience and who they represent and how they represent our community.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sharon, and I'm honored to serve as the president of the Colorado chapter of the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists. On behalf of our entire chapter, thank you for incredible recognition as a part of the inaugural inductees into the Colorado Labor Hall of Honor. This honor is deeply meaningful because the Hall of Honor reflects the history, the struggle, and the sacrifices of working people across the state who fought to strengthen their communities and secure dignity on the job. The Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, founded in 1972, exists to ensure that Black workers have a strong voice within the labor movement, and that the labor movement continues to be the force for justice, equity, and opportunity for all. Here in Colorado, our chapter was built out of both vision and necessity. Coming from a strong union background, I recognize the need for the space where workers, especially workers of color, could organize, build power, and stand in true solidarity within the broader labor movement. So I gathered 25 individuals, labor activists, and union members in good standing from across industries, which is a requirement, by the way. It was a diverse group because solidarity includes all of us. Now, So I gathered 25 individuals, labor activists and union members in good standing from across industries. It was a diverse group because solidarity includes all of us. Now, I'm not saying that one union showed up stronger than the other, but I am saying CWA may have understood the assignment just a little bit early on. But truly, we had representation across the labor movement, SEIU, APWU, CWA, the plumbers, transit workers, and more. And in just 4 short years, we have grown into a thriving community-based organization made up of committees focused on education, political action, community engagement, and workforce development. We are actively bringing the programs of the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists into the city, and we are just getting started. Because in times like these, when anti-union sentiment is rising and when workers, especially Black workers, continue to face barriers, our work is not optional, it's essential. A major part of that work is our Young Worker Initiative. We are building something that is set to be massive over the next few years, creating the pathways for young people to enter the workforce with dignity, stability, and opportunity. And this is where we are calling on the trades. It is often said that the trades are the best kept secret in our communities. Well, we don't want that to be the secret anymore. So we want our young people to know that they don't have to start their journey in debt. They can build a career, earn a living wage, and create a stability right now with a trade under their belt. And yes, they can still pursue higher education, but they can do it from a place of strength and not struggle. So we want the trades there with us at the forefront, helping us to open those doors. Because we know this, we do not get there alone, we get there together. So tonight, as we accept this honor, we also extend the invitation. If you are a union member in good standing, if you believe in equity, access, and collective power, if you are ready to build the next generation of workers, join us, connect with us, stand with us, help us continue this work. Thank you again for this prestigious honor, and I'll leave you with this. When we stand together across unions, across trades, and across communities, there is nothing we cannot build. In solidarity, the Colorado Coalition of Black Trade Unionists.
Okay. My name is Lamone Knowles. I'm the secretary of the board. My home union is AFGE at the VA hospital, and as you know, AFGE has been in a real contentious fight with this administration back the first time and now this time, but we're not done with them. So CB2U, we're in the fight for the long haul. Thank you.
Good evening, Sandra Parker Murray. I am a member of Communication Workers of America. I am the Secretary Treasurer there and the Vice President of the Coalition.
I'm Howard Cho. I am a trustee for CBTU. My home union is PWG, which is under the Denver Newspaper Guild, and CWA, of course. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Pat Johnson Gibson. I'm a member of SCIU Local 105, Service Employer National Union, and I am the treasurer for CBTU. Thank you all for giving us this opportunity.
Hi everyone, I know it's late, so I'll be quick. Alejandra Beatty, honored to support as trustee for this wonderful group and also president for the Boulder Area Labor Council.
State Representative Sheila Leader, 44-year and still a dues-paying member to CWA as a state representative.
CWA!
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maria Justice. I'm a member of CBTU, and my home union is SEIU Local 105.
I'd just like to thank everybody for this honor. Thank you.
Yes, I know. I did the 26th anniversary.
Okay, everyone, we've come to the final awardee. And I'm going to do this from the front of the podium. How's that? This final awardee launches us into the present in a way that some of the historic nominees do not. Jeanette Fiscara, who I've known for 20 years, has had a huge impact on my life. she approached my theater troupe called the Romero Theater Troupe 15 or 20 years ago and said, I want to tell my story. And so we put together a skit. Too bad we're not performing it here tonight because we have a big group of Romero troupe members here tonight to support Jeanette. Jeanette has lived in the United States for 30 years, more or less. She has a lot of labor organizing. She organized her fellow custodians with SIU for years. She worked with groups like Rights for All People, Centro Humanitario, Colorado Immigrant Rights Coalition, and the list goes on and on. She helped found the Denver Metro Sanctuary Coalition. She worked with Romero Troupe for 15 years. During the first Trump administration, when she was targeted for deportation, she lived in a church basement for 3 years in sanctuary, apart from her children. Last March, during the second Trump administration, she was detained by ICE coming out of her job at Target and held at the GEO detention center for 9 months. Inside GEO, Jeanette organized the detainees. She did what she does. My daughter, who is here tonight, grew up with Jeanette's children, Luna, Gaio, and Zuri. Some of them are here tonight as well. If you've never met Jeanette Visguera, she is a force. She's also an important voice for undocumented workers who are really the backbone of this country in many ways. When we honor Jeanette, we honor all undocumented people tonight who are facing the raids and the deportations. So let's welcome Jeanette.
Maybe everybody see me and never quiet injustice. Everybody watch stories that people fight in the past. Some people continue fighting the present. But I mean continue fighting the future for the rights of everybody. For this, every time I stop people, never stop fight, and never quiet injustice. Sometimes the people watching justice in different areas of the job or in the community is sometimes for convenience quiet. Quiet. No like not your position, still your life, the good benefits. No. This is not good. The people need have values. For defend your values, for defend your people, for defend all injustice. For this, I don't care how many times I continue to fight for my own case, for the system. This administration continue to target me. But I'm here. I'm continue resistant. This honor is only my honor, it's my family. My family accompanied me for a long, long time in this fight. It is whatever honor. I receive very much honors in 30 years, but not only my honors, it's my family. But at the same time, the very much members in the community accompanied me in my fight. In my 9 months, 7 days of detention, very much organization stop there. All weekend, all Mondays, fight for Jeanette free. I am here. For this, every time I mention whatever honor I receive is for my immigrant community, for my family, and for my neighbors. This is the community. This is community. And the time everybody work together and support each other, it never quiet injustice. I'm accepting this honor, the Labor Hall of Fame. It's one honor for me, it's one honor for my family, for my friends, for the Romero Group leader, AFL-CIO Local 105, for the media, same as important in my life. Fight together me, put my voice around the country, around the world. For this is very important. And the time somebody receives something, not only is for you, it's for the people, but for your life. Thank you everybody, thank you James, thank you my community. Continue protect each other and continue create community. Thank you everybody. Y la lucha sigue.
Friends, two quick things. We've come to the end of our evening. We would like all the awardees to stick around for a group photo, and make sure all the committee members also stick around for a group photo. Elena and Doug are going to sing "De Colores" to end the evening.
And we're just going to
raise your voice.